Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Jealous Gypsy Homestead and Forge. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make some homemade containers for plants, and just basically to get your seeds started off. You don't need anything fancy. I use two soda bottles. One is a 67.6 ounce or 2 liters. But other ones a little bit bigger. I like the bigger ones, and I'll get to why, which is a 3 liter. I prefer to use just the big clear ones, but today this is just so happened to be what I have on hand is a green one, which is absolutely fine as well, as long as you can kind of see through it and it's clear. You don't want to use anything like, for example, like this. You can, it's just I personally prefer the clear ones because you can see the root growth in the clear, as well as I believe that the sunlight can get more exposure to these. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll go through step by step what I do to plant my seeds. I recently was gifted some, let me see if I could show you, a bunch of turnip seeds. Oop, I knocked it over. A bunch of turnip seeds. I bartered with these to my neighbor for some of my seeds. So I'm anxious to get them planted. And to start with, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my soda container. I'm going to take this label off because it's pointless. Let me get my gardening gloves off of here. So I remove this label. I'll be able to then decide on how tall or short I want to make my planter. Now these are turnips, so I know that they're a root vegetable, so they're probably going to need to be planted a little bit deeper than, say, something like tomatoes or something that isn't necessarily a tubular or a root vegetable. Okay, so there we are. We got our clear soda container, and I have my 3 liter here, which I'm taking the wrapper off of. And there we are. Nice clear green. You can see through it just fine. I've already went ahead and rinsed these out. But make sure you give yours a good rinsing before you use them, because you don't want any mold to attack with the sugars. And soda is very high in sugar. We all know it's horrible for you. So let's go ahead and get to cutting. Now, problem is with scissors, if you notice, I could sit here and I might be able to stab my way through in here and start doing a cut, but it's just going to be easier if you use your neck knife. I'm going to pull my handy neck knife out. Compliments of Vet Ryan from Ryan's Old Time Visions. Thank you, baby. And I'm going to just take this, and I use this thing for everything. I can't believe it stays this sharp with how much I use it. Once I get that initial cut in there, I'm able to put the knife back and just go around. I will be using the knife again later on because I'm going to want drainage in this. I'll get to drainage in just a second. Okay, so I have this. It doesn't need to be too even. I'm just going to even out this little bit right in here. Just a little bit. Just to make it a bit more symmetrical. Set that aside. So now we have 2 parts. We have this part, which is going to be what we're going to be working with and using. This part, don't get rid of this. This has a million uses. You could even set up hanging plants with this, that you take a little coat hanger in and put through, or some wire, and put some plants in there, some soil, and just hang that up and unscrew the bottom. It will have plenty of drainage through it. So don't get rid of these, because you can find a million different uses of these, and it cuts down on waste if you just reuse as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here to this one. Now the key here is I don't mind it being too tall or too short, because I already have it set up like this, but it just needs to sit inside of this. That's why this is bigger, because I need this to be able to fit inside of the 3-liter. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little hole into here using this. Like again, I said, it doesn't need to, I don't have to worry about it being too small or anything like that. And what actually happens is when I put holes in the bottom of the clear plastic, the water that I put in to water all the plants and the seeds will drain right through the bottom. And when that happens, I know that I'm not going to have any type of mold or mildew problems. Even if I do water them too much, it will go right through to the bottom. And as long as I dump this out, it will make sure that nothing's sitting in there and building up. As long as you can keep up with your plants every day, you should be fine. Just do a little check on them, make sure the soil is moist every day. Now again, this is more of a harder plastic. You could have some difficulty with scissors getting through this. I've always just taken a knife and just put some slits in the bottom in each one that sticks out. Here, the little lips that stick out. You just take a knife and put a good little slit in there, enough that a good amount of water can drain through. You'll be good. I'll show you exactly what I mean in one moment. Just be careful you do not cut yourself doing this. If you notice, I'm going very slowly, keeping my hand a good distance away. Each time I do it, I keep my knife facing the opposite direction away from me, so I'm not going to be hurting myself. Of course, that's just basic knife knowledge, and I'm sure everybody watching already knows that. But just in case, you know, never know. Who doesn't know that? And just keep on going through until each and every one has a good slit on it. I really am not the best professional to tell you the exact, you know, size or for the drainage that should be on here, but this is how, I don't know if you could see too well, that's about how I do it. Just so that there's holes all around and could have a good amount of drainage in here. So as you see here, I have this green one. So this is going to pretty much be our catch plate here to catch all the water. And I can just set this right in here. See that? And it sits just fine. This stands up well on its own too, even though I did the holes. Stands up, sits just perfectly flat and level. So I could even set this in my greenhouse or on a shelf or on a table with no problems. And again, this is just to start out with seeds. Later on, as a plant gets bigger, if you're growing something that's going to be larger, or moving and upgrading your containers, or even out in the garden, you can absolutely, you know, upgrade these containers. This is just something to start your seeds out with. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is, as you see here, I have some gravel and some rocks. I always put rocks at the bottom of my soil, so that way if there's a windy day, I don't have to worry about them getting knocked down. And that way, I've also heard that it does something with the roots. I'm not so sure about all that. All I know is that it makes it so that it's a little bit more heavy and gives it a little bit more of a stability inside of a really strong winds. I live here in northern Maine, so I've gotten warnings up to 50-mile-per-hour winds, and I just need to make sure that my plants can survive that. Alright, as you see, I didn't even put many rocks in here. Just a couple, not even, I think, about an inch or two in here. Not too much rocks. The rest is all going to be soil. So, I'm not an expert on turnips. I just know I like to eat them. I've never tried growing them before. So I'm going to go ahead and just wing it on how to plant them and how deep and everything like that. I think I'm doing okay. So I'm going to get some of my soil from over here, some starting soil, and I will put some soil in with here. Let me get my gloves on. Actually, I'm just not even going to use my gloves. I'm going to have dirty hands, but that's okay. Because sometimes you have to get your hands dirty if you're a good gardener. At least that's what they say. Okay, so show you. I put a little bit of dirt in here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plant these seeds. It says on here it's a bunch of turnips. So let's go ahead and plant a bunch. Okay, so next I'm adding all my seeds. There we go. That's all of them right there. I'm going to add a little bit of soil on top of here. Just throw on about a handful. Not very even that much dirt, I wouldn't think. Just a little bit more. Alright, so I put a little bit more dirt on top of here. So it's kind of like a layer. Almost like a lasagna. So we got our rocks and we have our soil. I put in my seeds there and put some more soil on top. And now I'm going to place it inside of this green holder here, the bottom plate. Throw some water in there. Oh wait, I didn't do the most important part. I almost forgot to label the plant. Now as you see here, this is going to be black and clear, and I'm not going to be able to see the label through the dirt. But it's okay because I used a green container. I'm going to be able to see what I wrote on here. So, we will write on here, turnips. Make sure you label yours. Otherwise, if you don't label it, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between your tomatoes and your peppers or anything else. You definitely want labels on everything that you plant. There we go. I put my turnips on there. Now, we can add a little bit of water and hope that it grows. With a little luck and a little magic, hopefully, in a couple more weeks, we'll be looking at some sprouts coming in. And then, before you know it, we'll be eating some turnips. One other good thing I wanted to say about this is with these containers, not only... I just put water in here. But not only does it act as a drainer, as you see it's draining right through. The water comes right through, which is great. The soil's nice and moist already. I'm going to try to dump it. But if you put it on top, on here like this, say you don't have access to a greenhouse, this will actually almost act like a greenhouse from what I've seen and experienced. Don't know all the science behind it. I'm not an expert. This is my first garden in a very long time, but I found this out, and it seems to be working. That this seems to work great as a little miniature greenhouse, and you have vents down here as well. But you definitely, after you water it, if you don't want to get everything wet, you want to keep it on here. I'm going to go get this guy in some sun. Wish me luck, and I will talk to you on my next project, everyone. Bye.